Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar. And I like to call it actually our panelist knowledge and experience share, quite frankly. Here at Stikkum, we wanted to actually contribute consistently. We'll be doing these type of a series on a more regular basis. And this forum is really to kind of pull from the industry, pull from your colleagues, your best in class providers and peers, so that we can provide a venue that all of our customers and everybody else and colleagues in this industry has a place that they can kind of go and absorb some of the experiences and information, best practices, and quite frankly, ahas that folks that are our panelists today and forward in the future have to give. So I thank you all for joining today. We'll be in a short format right here, won't take too much time. But today's kind of overarching theme, as we all know, we're in a very weird year. Okay, a very weird situation, and it's something that we all have to take notice. And if you're in the right mindset, I'm always like a glass half full perspective there. When there's disruption in our society, in our industry, or whatever happens it is, if you could just look through the clutter and the clouds, you will see the opportunities that are there, and potentially they're already in front of your face. The big thing you want to do and make mention and really notice is, are you prepared to, one, take hold of those opportunities today, but then also as you come out of this thing and as the society and the world changes tomorrow, be the ones that are embracing it, right? Going forward. I think if you look back, I think there's several articles when a lot of this industry and the economy was kind of doing weird things, as it still is when were the most millionaires created, right? It's in the Depression of the 1920s. That's when the most millionaires were created. And you know, there's several pundits that always say, well, why is that? Is, well, there's some folks that had a different perspective and insight into what was going on. They recognize what all of us do see and what we hear in the news, but they were able to prepare themselves. They were able to have the right mindset. They were able to write and embrace the right people around them, but then also embrace their community and their marketplace, would say, you know what, this is not necessarily a challenge, but this is going to be an opportunity for you, an opportunity for me. Hang on one second. So we put together this short agenda here. It's going to be loose and casual, and we've got great panelists that I'll introduce you to in a second here to kind of take us through the discussion and share from their hearts and their experience and knowledge what they've seen, what they've seen in working with many of you, with working with a lot of the clients and customers that you work with today, and even their own current experience as a mortgage lender and a mortgage advisor themselves, of where they've seen things happen many moons ago in society and economies like today. And all overarching it is what they're seeing in their experience of how current and best-in-class providers and mortgage advisors today are taking and embracing today and preparing for tomorrow. I've just got a quick introduction just to kind of really tee it up for what we're seeing today and what the current future would be. Then now we'll be talking about technology's role. And as you know, from a banking and finance perspective, you sometimes would say this is a very slow, conservative industry, but it has impact events like we've seen this year in this pandemic in social distancing, restrictive connectedness, right? That maybe we need to consider not technology as a nice to have, it's really now becoming a need. We have to embrace it. And then how do we do it? And what is that role for not just us, but how we connect to, quite frankly, everybody else that's here to service the homeowner, right? The ecosystem. We'll talk about that today. The business development landscape and how we're actually connecting and reaching out to and converting, you know, leads, converting knowledge about potential borrowers that are out there, and then how do we embrace those folks and me get connected with them is also changing from a technology perspective, and even the new methods. It's not the same as it used to be 10 years ago. We want to share some insights about that today, so you come away from this knowing some little insights that can help your business there. And then, like I mentioned before, there's a before and after, and this is a cyclical type of event that we've seen. I talked about the Great Depression. We've had some major impact in 2008. This is 2020. And if everybody's going to say to you that something like this or whatever disruption is never going to happen again, it will. So we want to bring today great insight and conversation experience of over 20 plus years of experience and living through ups and downs and lessons and learn and growth throughout that, and preparation of growth coming out of this. That's what we want to leave you guys with today as well. So that's just a short agenda, the main overarching points that we're looking to deliver today, and hope you come away with, hope you find it valuable. And now, honestly, I wanted to introduce you to folks that, not me, humbly put, the actual true experts of the folks that are going to be delivering their knowledge to you there. I have Khash, Saghafi, mortgage banker for Liberty Home Mortgage Corporation, that's joining us, bringing his 21 years plus of experience in the environment, being a loan officer, managing and growing a mortgage business through the many decades of ups and downs. And this is just the next one that he's got to take and embrace the challenge. And if I've read all your posts and everything on LinkedIn, it's inspiring how through all of it all, bring on the challenge, right, Khash?
Yes, sir. Right.
Bro, you embrace it with a smile, because if you're prepared and it's not gimmicks, if you have solid foundation and fundamentals, you truly can embrace the innovations of today, which, by the way, they're all rooted in fundamentals, right? To take embrace in what's happening today and truly enjoy the challenges, right? Michael Kelleher, CEO of Easy Mortgage Apps, is joining us. How you doing, Mike?
Doing great, thank you.
Thanks for joining us today, bringing us quite a bit of knowledge. We'll talk a little bit about Easy Mortgage Apps, and you've got a lot to share regarding mobile technology, the mobile environment. Like I said, being connected but being distant at the same time. How the heck do you do that? Being connected and being present to not just one-on-one, but multiple people in an environment, in an ecosystem. And I really love some of the content that you're going to be sharing here, because I'm just looking forward to the generations to follow us. Yes. I've got kids, right? There's this thing called Generation Y, but right away, there's already the Generation Z, and I can just prospectively speak. We're just talking on the phone earlier today. My kids don't use an email. They don't even use the darn phone. It's a shame. And we can expect that those are going to be the borrowers that we're going to want to service and support in the future.
Yeah, if it wasn't for college or Xbox, they would not have email.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So we have to. It is not even a need, or it's not even a wish or a want. It is an absolute need to understand that culture today, because that is going to be the mode and methods of communication tomorrow. And we've got Daniel Cross, who's head of business development and strategic partnerships at Verse.io, embracing many of the different things of the cultures of connectedness with customers and prospects. But taking from a perspective of, marketing is one thing, advertising and getting my name out is another thing there. And we get present with an opportunity to service and support a customer. What do you do with that knowledge, and how quickly and fast do you actually get connected with that customer? Just like we were talking with Michael here, and what methods of communications are you resonating to that specific audience member, and why today are you connected to them, or actually most times, why am I not getting connected to them? Am I speaking to them in the right methods? Am I addressing them appropriately? Right, Dan, I don't want to steal too much of your thunder, but I really enjoy what you guys are doing there. Am I using the right tools and venues to communicate, AKA, I don't think we got the Xbox module or the PlayStation module yet, right? But
no, we're doing all our chatting through Xbox now, actually.
Not a bad.
But I think as we are looking to grow the business, it's all about communication and connectedness with the audience in the marketplace today. So I hope you all enjoy the session today. It's only be about 20 to 30 minutes or so. Each of the gentlemen on the phone today will have their chance to personally share what their thoughts are on each of the particular topics today. But just to kind of tee it up right here, when I was looking at this and we were putting things together to do, why are we even here? What is the challenge in front of us? Why should we think optimistically about this? And how does this situation of 2020, post-COVID-19 pandemic, quite frankly, other society elements, riots and whatnot, how does it differ from the past, and why, where is that silver lining, and where is that cup half full type of situation here? I can just speak from our customers and clients. We've been seeing transaction levels at a record pace thus far this year. On the right-hand side, that's fueled quite a bit, obviously, by the rates and everything else. Nonetheless, though, I always look at a marketplace as, our business is determined upon the buying power and attitudes of our customers, right? And if they're doing good and if they're feeling confident, then we're going to be very confident in our ability to have the opportunities to service them, right? So I like the left-hand side there graphic because the big impact event of 2008, as everybody knows, this was an interesting graphic that I found there, that it compares what's happening to 2020 from the buyer's perspective, the homeowners, the borrower, right, of the support and backing that they were seeing back in 2008 versus 2020, right? And then likewise on the right-hand side, just over the last several months in comparison to the past couple of years, the record lows that we've seen from a rates perspective has been fueling quite a bit of this. I think the overarching theme is there's a lot of support for the borrowers out there. There's a lot of empathy for folks that are out there. And even the governmental entities that are supporting the industry, it's one thing to drop rates to zero, but when they also say that they're going to be participating in the bond markets, if not as much, if not more than they were in the past, that's really putting their actions where their words are and impacting this mortgage industry quite directly. So I think that gives us the opportunity, like I mentioned before, we can call it a challenge if you want to, but I always like to use the word situation, right? A challenge means there's something, man, it's really tough to get through. A situation, you just deal with it. And if you look at it that way from a situation, we're looking to deal with it. This is an opportunity. This is truly an opportunity that has support for our customers in the marketplace. And so there now we have to look internally and say, are we now equipped to embrace the support that's going to be needed? Make sense? So let's go ahead and carry through. First up, as I mentioned before, Michael Kelleher, CEO of Easy Mortgage Apps. Fantastic, innovative, best-in-class solution, really bringing the whole mobile environment, connecting it to the true ecosystem that a loan officer and a mortgage advisor has to work within, ins and outs, in service of the company and in service of their community there. Asking Michael to bring to us opportunities and see what you're seeing. What are you seeing, Michael, these days as far as mobile usage, the advantage of digital channels, as I mentioned, and the insight to share. And please do share your experiences and thoughts and let me know how I can dictate through the conversation for you as far as slides.
Yeah, sounds great. So that was an awesome introduction. Just to add to it, I am also technology chair of the Massachusetts Mortgage Bankers Association. So I understand brokers, independents, banks, and credit unions. And Progressive Magazine actually yesterday just named me 2020 Thought Leader. So I guess embrace what you love and love what you do. It's been a long journey. We started in 2013 and been passion really that's kept us going. So our goal is, I find pretty constantly throughout the years and throughout the mortgage industry, people tend to run from mobile. And it's been my passion to one day that'll switch and they will run to mobile, meaning embrace it. And I think you'll see throughout this entire presentation why that's important. And I will try and keep it under 7 minutes so everybody knows up front what we're here for. As far as Easy Mortgage Apps, just real quick, we are like the Build-A-Bear of mobile apps. So we are more of a partner, and we have a lot of ways to help you get your brand and your look into the Apple and Google Play Store. So with that said, next slide, I'll take you guys through a little bit of a mobile journey here. On the right is a stats from a recent Ellie Mae survey. I believe it's very important. So the first things first is, what is the difference between a native app and mobile responsive? The biggest difference is a native app. So when I say app, you're going into the Apple Store or the Google Play. Whereas mobile responsive is on a demo when somebody's trying to pitch you a product and it looks like a phone, challenge them. They might just be bringing the browser down to the phone size, and that would be on Chrome as well as Safari. Another point is vernacular. So as you can see on this stat, it's really an interesting stat. 30% of lenders believe a borrower would use an app and download an app to take advantage of the mortgage process. That could be you, that could be your boss. The reality is, on the other side, they also interviewed borrowers and said the same question, and to see the answer, 78% of borrowers would download an app if they were offered. So in your vernacular, do you say download my app? If you don't, you are on the 30% side and people are coming for you. Also, we mentioned the ecosystem and connectivity, and you'll see how apps help you with connectivity. Whether it's our app or other apps, I do feel it's an advancement. 75% of lenders say we're crushing it on communication, crushing it. Whereas the borrowers, 38% of them would prefer a higher touch rate. And so again, I think that's running from versus to. After a consumer closes, as we advance, you really need to get uncomfortable up front, obviously, to get sales in, but you need to get uncomfortable after and ask questions around mobile. Would you have preferred an app? Would you have checked an app? I don't have an app right now, but do I need to get an app? Because apps to me mean communication. Next slide. So the biggest difference between mobile responsive, which is 99% of the mortgage tech out there, and a native app is consumers spend 92% of their time on a native app. They only spend 8% of their time in the Safari or the Chrome. And they never go back to a website really more than once unless it's a media site, ESPN, Fox News, CNN, right? So if you're relying on them going to an app to fill it out, I think that's why Ellie Mae also found 56% of people who start an application on the phone don't finish it. It's not that they don't want to finish it. Maybe they just don't know where to find that link again. And when they went to check your email for it or your old text, they found somebody else because the leads and they just happenstance, right? So 3 hours and 40 minutes a day are spent inside of an app, inside their comfort zone. Don't try and take them out of their comfort zone. So the solution is an app. Next slide. Apps are going to disrupt everything. And they're going to disrupt the mortgage industry. And you can fight it as long as you want, but the examples are all around. The latest example is Starbucks. Did you know that 80% of Starbucks orders before COVID-19 came through the mobile app? Pause for dramatic suspense there, because that's a ton, right? And so what they learned is, if COVID didn't happen, they weren't going to disrupt their model. But what they learned was, we're going to shut down 400 stores. They announced that last week. I don't know if you saw, because of the mobile app. But we're not going to end there. It's not over for Starbucks. What they learned through COVID was people were going, like myself, if my wife would let me, and go down, and they had a table out front, right? I don't know if anybody did this. And you could actually, they'd run it to the front. And I was there, and I saw this couple that thought they could just argue their way into an order with cash. And they said, no, read the sign above. You have to use the app or Uber Eats. 2 apps. So it does 2 things. One, that generation is getting more and more comfortable with apps. They're being forced to download and learn those behaviors. 2, shows we're turning into a mobile first. And so what they are doing is they're opening 300 pickup locations. This is disruption through an app that we never thought would be possible. How else does it affect you? Realtors love to go to Starbucks and hang out in the Starbucks lobby. So there's 400 less of them. They'll be scattering to other places. Next slide. People are at home, and yes, they have more access to their computers, and they're on their desktops more. So stats might show desktop, phone, but what are they doing? What is the one item they're doing more than ever? I believe it's tracking, whether it's food, delivery items, Amazon usage is up, everything is tracking, and every tracking is simple steps. Obviously, the UPS driver knows more about where the packages are and where they should be in transition, but they just give simple, delivered, on its way, in Linfield. And I think that's where the mortgage industry gets hung up a lot. You know too much about your own process. The pizza app never gives bad news, never says they dropped it on the floor, never says the driver, just got pulled over. It's always good news set up. And Domino's was able to do his one goal, which was pass Pizza Hut's $12.4 billion market cap. And he wouldn't have been able to do it without the app, he said. Next slide. So I want you to think of the mortgage process. I want you to think, when you think about apps, don't always go to point of sale. There's plenty of them out there, right? And you guys can drive them all down against each other. How do you use an app? And the majority of the time I like to say is think of an airline app, right? An airline app, doesn't matter how you order the tickets, but once you order the tickets, you download the app till you land. For a homeowner, think of it as until they open up that door with those keys, they want to be on an app. They enjoy the entertainment on an app, right? They enjoy tracking the gate. They'll check a gate 11 times. So why wouldn't they check their mortgage payment 11 times a day on the app? And are you going to call 11 times, or do you think they're going to go find your website 11 times? This is just normal behavior. So we said COVID environment. Does anybody know what these are? I did a post on LinkedIn. I call them germ cards. They used to be called business cards. And the lending industry is so confident, like myself in sales, right? That we might get past COVID and hand them out. Doesn't mean that you're not handing an awkward situation that's going to carry with them, because first impression is a lasting impression. Or they bring it home and they show their wife, and their wife says, what are you doing with that? And again, it's an awkward position. Same thing with printers, scanners, fax machines. Where have they been located? In the office. It's not 1998. My mom was the king of clipping out those rebates at CompUSA, and we used to have free scanners galore, right? But nobody has scanners at home. They all use them in the office. Less than 20% of the workforce is going to the office. So are they going to go to Staples? I won't even get into that experience, but you need to call ahead or use their app to get an appointment. You need to have solutions to get over documents. So my suggestions are, if you don't want to use a vendor in the industry, I'd be happy to talk with you. I would use Trello or Basecamp. They both have apps that both do the functionality I'm talking about today. It's a little bit of work. You don't get anything out of the box, and you don't get a partner, but you would get the ability to capture documents. You would get the ability to have an app that stays on their phone, and you would get, next slide, push notifications. They're Basecamp push notifications, but they're better than no push notifications. My thesis, and that's funny, it was brought up in the beginning here. My thesis is the mortgage industry is a house of cards waiting to collapse from a communication standpoint. I think the entire industry is built on email. And in 2018, the read rate daily of email was 18%. But we continue to double down on email, hire more processors, and teach them how to email. When we have a technology on the left that has a 97% read rate within 2 minutes, technology is starting to allow you to be able to track in real time if they're swiping right. They can actually bring you to call to actions. They don't sit with 7,234 on their phone. They actually are meaningful. And again, if you can't find a provider, Trello and Basecamp actually allow you to send push notifications. Next slide. So I would say your consumers are not afraid to embrace mobile apps. You need to stop being afraid to ask the questions of, would you rather this on an app? Would you download an app just to check payments? Would you still work with me if there was an app? I think you'll find consumers love apps, and there's a world where they can love you and apps too. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. This is fantastic. It's not a futuristic thing. It's here now. We've talked about family and kids, and my kid is headed off to college in the fall here, and he is one of those that lives off of apps. They live on their phone. He doesn't, or he has emails, he never checks it and whatnot. I could speak personally from the banking industry that will come. It's coming to mortgage, because what's also happening in the world today of finance is contactless payments. So think about how the standard person today is already migrating. No one sees anybody, or hopefully you don't see anybody, or you're not in the line of a person writing a check at the checkout counter, right? Watch, within light speed, it's going to come to the point that even credit cards, the pieces of plastic, right now, you don't even have to slide it in the machine anymore. You can kind of wave it around there, contactless payment, right? What is on the heels of that? I look at that as something that kind of like being Blu-ray, being Laserdisc on videos, right? Because what eclipsed that in light speed was what? Streaming. So what the apps are going to do in the payments world is saying that everything is going to be driven by the app. From a COVID perspective, it's touchless. It's tracking. And the generations that are already here and to follow, that is their mainstream mode of not only interacting with the environment and society, but quite frankly, communicating with each other, right? With Snapchat and everything else like that. So it's here now, guys. And thanks so much, Michael, for sharing that. It's absolutely awesome. Awesome insight.
Thank you for the
I
opportunity.
started clapping, quite honestly. That's pretty damn impressive.
So let's transition. Daniel, thanks for joining us from Verse.io. We wanted to bring Daniel here to bring his insight here because as every one of us is growing our business, transitioning to new technologies and an app perspective, it's one thing to know about an opportunity, but how do you reach them? How quick do I reach them? And how do I use technology even or new innovative methodologies that align with the marketplace? And as Michael had mentioned before, how they are interacting with the environment, right? So Daniel, if maybe you could share with us, as I mentioned, insights to share. What are the experience and perspectives that you guys see at Verse.io? Tell us a little bit about yourselves there, but in particular, what are you guys seeing on the wave of transition in the mortgage industry, the lending advisors out there, and what do you see them having to adapt to, or quite frankly, just outright embrace today to be ready to be an opportunistic provider here come the post-COVID world?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And Michael, that was awesome. And actually a great, super impressive stats, but also a great transition into what we're talking about, which is,
Great thing.
you know, ultimately what I'm here to talk about basically is how LOs can, you know, succeed with more virtual tools from a BD perspective, so business development perspective, and then, you know, about the lead conversion space and how best they can put together systems to do better on lead engagement, lead conversion, and ultimately, you know, like without the face-to-face contact in the next, at least foreseeable future, how to build better systems for business and how to keep the pipeline full. You know, as most LOs would probably call themselves a one-person BD department, right? They're having to put together, you know, partnerships that are going to increase revenue. They're looking for channel partners to increase referrals. They're forming relationships that will result in better integrations for tech and ultimately to improve everything. So, you know, one of the tips that I thought I would share, and I'll keep it short as well, Jeff, is that, and this goes exactly to what Michael was just saying, but mortgage professionals should be calling for better integrations with the tools they use. So you're going to have a bunch of things in your tech stack, and you know, those companies don't necessarily build those integrations unless you ask for them, right? So Verse, we have integrations with, you know, a million different CRMs and tech tools, but like, we're not going to build it until somebody comes to us and asks for it. So if you have if you open up your phone or you open up your computer and you've got 7 different tools, or, you know, POS and the LOS and everything in your CRM and everything, all of that should be integrated. And if it's not, you should be asking for it. And that's a way that, you know, you're not sure, maybe you're not techie, or maybe as an LO, you're scared of kind of all these different technologies, but your rep with those companies, they're not. And that's their job is to make it all work well for you. So I would, you know, if your CRM isn't hooked up to receive all of your lead sources, so by lead sources, I mean agent referrals, I mean online leads from your website, I mean leads that you're getting from open house lists or whatever you've got, lending tree for cash, everything should be coming in to one central place, and the CRM should be handling all of it. And if that's not happening right now, you should do that immediately. And you'd be surprised at how many people go, well, I have a CRM and I put my leads in there, but my website leads, I'm not sure. I don't know. I do Facebook ads. I'm not sure how that is supposed to go in there. I think it can. And you're like, well, that's the whole point of it. This is what a CRM does, man. So just make sure, you know, go do an audit of all your systems and make sure they're talking to each other. That's kind of point number one. And probably, and from a BD perspective, the highest value activity that you can be doing is, you know, as an LO, whether you're a broker or whether you're forming relationships in the banker world or whatever, is probably gathering referrals from realtor partners. If you can spend any time, you know, especially for an independent broker, to spend time building those relationships. The good news is, and there's a million books and blogs and everything about how to get more realtor relationships, but it's actually become a lot easier. And I think, you know, with Jeff's slide, you know, mortgage being antiquated, or, you know, or Michael's slide that, you know, faxes and all that stuff, like people still have a mindset pre, you know, like personal websites and branding and online social, where you know, you're not reliant on, you know, the big, what we call portal lead systems, which is like what we call like LendingTree or Zillow or Realtor.com, or these places where people go to search and then you kind of take whatever they give you. LOs don't have to rely on these sources to build them anymore. You can go out and get your own leads, exclusive leads. We work with a company a lot called Lead Pops. Lead Pops provides a landing page, it provides funnels, it provides do-it-for-me advertising, so you don't have to do any of the marketing, they do it for you. And if your choice is to go invest $2,000 a month in marketing and you're going to go buy leads from somewhere, or you have the chance to, you know, put your website there, increase SEO on Google because you're putting ads and people are going there, so you're going to show up on higher on searches. You're going to own those leads, so those people are coming to your funnel before they're going somewhere else. They're not getting sold to multiple people. I like, if you ever asked what should I do for leads, like, do you want to be at the mercy of buying leads from someone, or do you want to just go generate your own leads at the same time building your brand? So there's a guy we work with who does Lead Pops, and Lead Pops is one of them. You can just go create a website and do ClickFunnels and do your own marketing. It's just that's one that we work with a lot. But he said, you know, he basically has set up a bunch of different funnels on Lead Pops. He runs ads on Facebook for properties. The magic of generating your own leads from your own website and working with realtor partners is that when you get a lead, let's say you get 100 leads a month, you know, 30 of them turn out to be real. If you put them into appointments, that's what Verse does. We do all the follow-up and connect the customers to the LOs and book appointments and stuff. But let's say 30% are good. Out of those, you've got 15 that go into apps. Out of those, you get X amount, you know, into actually funded loans. But the magic part is if you take those 30 people that you've got now who say they have an interest in getting pre-approved, we're asking them in the funnel or asking them in our questions if they're working with a realtor already. So if the answer is no, now you've got a chance to maybe, and you know, if they're ready to go, take an approved buyer that doesn't have a real estate agent yet, doesn't have a realtor yet, and now you get to shop that around town to the person that you want to work with, right? You get to go look for someone who you want to build a relationship with. Like the days of I'll buy coffee for you, or you know, like let's like cold calling realtors to try to convince them to work with you is gone, right? But if you're coming to them with a pre-approved buyer and going, hey, I got this guy, he's interested. Do you think you could give him some keys for this house that he's already picked and wants? Like, what are the chances that that agent now does business with you? You basically passed the job interview. You've shown that you can bring value. You've shown you can get someone pre-approved, and now you've got leads to pass out. You know, one of the guys we work with, Scott, said he does this and does this all over the country. But he said someone asked him he posted on like one of the Brokers Better Facebook groups and said, hey, how many of those Lead Pops leads close? Like actually fund? And he goes, I don't care. And they're like, I don't care. He goes, like, if I'm passing out 30 like leads, whether they're ready today or whether they're ready in 2 months, I get to approach a realtor and go, I've got a lead for you. Don't know how motivated they are, but they want to talk to an agent. They don't have one yet. Can you help them? Like that, you could do that 30 times with 30 different agents, and you could do it every month. So the idea that you wouldn't be generating your own leads, that you wouldn't be branding yourself and setting up realtor relationships that way, in a world now where it's accessible to everybody and everybody can do it if you've got $1,000 or $2,000 a month for marketing, is silly. So go do it. I mean, that's what I'll leave you guys with.
You know, that's awesome. That's absolutely great. Just a couple things I kind of heard in here right at the beginning. I thought it was a very important point, as everybody's really looking at, you know, the business and looking at integrating, whether it be different people or different technologies, different tools. Sometimes what gets lost in the whole mess of things is, I'm going to have a tool to do a point solution here. I'm going to have 3 people, hire them to do here. I'm going to do another a system to do this. And what they're left with is far more confusion and clutter than they started with. They haven't thought about 2 things: how, whether the people, systems, technology, or tools, how do they work together? That's one. But 10, too, hey, I'm an LO, but I work differently than Khash.
Yeah.
My business is over here in a region that really operates quite a bit differently than in the Upper East Coast where Michael's at. And how well do these tools, technologies, peoples, systems, and whatever mesh with me and my process? I think people are just sometimes grabbing for things and let's throw it against the wall and hope that little spot gets covered because, I don't know,
Yeah.
that's just the spot that's in front of my face today versus the rest of it there.
And
And have a holistic view. I think that's a great point that you made in the beginning there. How well are they working together?
Yeah, and I'll mention one last thing, which is a mistake that we see with LOs all the time who are just getting into this and just getting into lead generation online and starting to understand how this works. Like online leads are not referrals, guys. If you treat it like I'll call him I'll call him when I get a chance. You know, it's my buddy who sent him over. Like that is not going to work. And those people don't know you. They don't love you. They don't know that what value you offer them. They filled out a form because they thought they were going to know how much money they get to borrow today. And if that's not happening as fast as you can, like an online lead is not a referral. Is the messaging I want to come across. So that you need to have systems in place. There needs to be instant engagement. There needs to be follow-up processes in place. And if you don't have those things, it's never going to work.
Yeah. Absolutely. One last point though, and then we'll go to the next transition. I actually really like that you mentioned there is in today, you got to think about whatever industry that you're in. Okay. It's hard to knock on every darn door yourself. Let's just admit that now. We have to build out an ecosystem, an environment that I'm working with people. That's just society today. We work with people, right? But then we also have to really keep in mind, what is the currency of value? It's not a cup of coffee, as you mentioned, Daniel, right? That's just, maybe it was way back when. It's not a cup of coffee. I like what you said, because I think what resonated to me, the currency or the valued currency today, whether I'm working with a mortgage advisor, whether I really want to get connected to a lender, or quite frankly, if I want to get to a borrower themselves, potentially, maybe it's not the right time today, but they might know other folks, right? The currency of value that you were mentioning to me, resonating to me, is the value of opportunity, right? And relationships, right? So do I have the opportunity, right, to even say hi to Michael, right? He might not want me to actually do anything today, minutes past my time, but if I could have at least an initial relationship, a point of familiarity, an introduction for Lee to say, hey, I'm just always here for you. Maybe I missed it this time. That little seed that's planted is all of a sudden a sprout of a relationship that I never had before, right? And as we know, when we're maybe 21, 22, 24, whatever the age we buy our first home, I don't think there's anybody here in this audience to say that will be the very last mortgage transaction that person will do. There will be other transactions for sure happening there. So the value of that first impression, that introduction, that new relationship, and quite frankly, just an opportunity to say hi and meet another person. I think that's the platinum value. That's the currency that we want to think about when we're out there. What am I going to bring to the table, right? I'm going to bring a relationship, a way that Michael can increase his friends, in a way that Khash can say, hey man, I got another guy in my network that I can share with, and quite frankly, I can learn from too. That's really, really cool, right? Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Good job, Dan. Last
but not least, running our anchor leg. Absolutely. Thank you for joining us today, Khash Saghafi from Liberty Home Mortgage Corporation. I really am interested, and thank you so much for kind of rounding up the conversation today. You are living and breathing in the environment, in the trenches, on the street today. But I think what's quite unique for you is, like many LOs today, they're maybe newly independent. Maybe they're a new LO, or they've been around for a couple years and growing their book of business, right? Which you've been there before. Maybe we're seasoned veterans that are growing up and running in that branch or whatnot. Maybe we have aspirations to grow into large organizations, maybe multi-state and everything else. And through it all, it takes some time. And I'm running into this COVID-19 pandemic and this really crushing thing. Some people way back when, I wasn't around, some will say in 2008, but I heard that was messy. Right.
2008 was intense. I remember where I was. I was in Irvine, California, when New Century went under. New Century, second largest subprime lender in the United States, doing $15 billion a month. And I got a call that, hey, New Century's under. And I called my rep, Kevin Sullivan. We called him Sully Man. And I was like, Sully Man, what's up, man? I heard something. What's going on? He was like, dude, we're closed. And I was like, impossible. I was in Irvine, California, 06. Never forget where I was. Yeah. 06, 07. The thing is, what's different, not to steal the mic, by the way, I could talk about it in a minute. I mean, the difference is like today with COVID, for example, is what I tell people, it's a couple of things. It's like this whole webinar you're doing, which is super impressive. I mean, you got with Dan and Michael, I mean, it's the whole topic is data management. It's data management. Okay. To jump into the COVID and this and that and the other, the last pullback in housing, it started in 06. Actually, it started in August of 05, if you look at the data, but it was 06 through 2012, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Every year it was something different. Every year was something different. Fannie Mae came out with their declining markets in 2008, 9. Subprime was gone and starting in 07. You know, it couldn't cap out. It just every few months it was something different. COVID is like MMA fighting in the UFC, and you just get kicked in the side of the head and you don't even see it. And the next thing you know, people are standing over you saying, dude, like, are you okay? And you're like, what's up? And they're like, you just got freaking your lights knocked out of you, you know, and you don't even know if you've ever been choked out or knocked out or something. Like, you know what I'm talking about? He's like, you wake up and people are like, are you okay? And you're like, what's going on, man? Where am I? And they're like, you've been out, dude. You've been freaking gone. So that's how COVID is. I'm telling you this right now. And I've been telling people this for years. I started doing this job in 99, right? I started up my own business like in 01, 02. In 2002, when I started doing direct mail was it. Like, if I wanted to talk to 1,000 people, I had to direct mail 1,000 people and wait for the calls. Today, you could do a quality post on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram. You do a quality post with content. I did a post on LinkedIn last year. I think it got over 100,000 views and 50,000. It went crazy. I didn't pay $1 for it. The key though is so I think it's so much easier today. I think this decade in front of us is going to be the biggest decade in real estate history. And if you're not making at least $200,000 to $400,000 a year as a loan officer, my question is, dude, like the freaking parade is passing you by. And I don't want to curse on your webcast, but because I talk like a truck driver. Like
family friendly webcast, Cash.
I appreciate it. Like, this is the biggest decade in real estate history right in front of us. You know what's awesome is that I'm licensed right now in 2020, and I'm like, I got the next 10 years. Someone who's going to get licensed in 3 years from now and get licensed in 2023, I'm like, dude, you missed the first freaking 3 years, the greatest decade in real estate history, in our nation's history. Now, here's the key. For all those loan officers maybe watching this or watch it later, is you're a small loan officer, you're a one-man shop. It doesn't even matter. You can work at Loan Depot or Quicken Loans. I always tell everybody, you are your own business. You are your own business. I don't care if you work at Quicken. You've got to establish a brand and you've got to nurture your data. It's data management. My company spends $150,000 a month on Zillow and LendingTree. There's guys, of course, I talk to, they're like, Khash, I don't have $5. I was there. For God's sakes, I've almost declared bankruptcy twice in this industry, man, 2002, 2009. I mean, I get it. It's data management. What every person watching has to do, and I'm not just doing this like Dan and Michael, you guys aren't like paying me, or Jeff, you guys aren't paying me to say this, but the truth is, if you're a small one-person shop and you're only doing 1 or 2 deals a month, you're talking to 5 people. My question is after you talk to those 5 people this month, what are you doing to nurture them so that in 3 months from now, they're still thinking of you and you are still on the top of your mind? This is how you go. I opened Liberty Home Mortgage in November of 2014. It was me and my processor. Today, we have 165. I have 165 employees. This month, we're going to close 60 million of volume. In my first month of Liberty, we did like 800,000. I was the only loan officer. Today, it's 60 million. And by the way, my average loan's like 170 grand. So I'm not in San Francisco or San Diego where my average, you sneeze and it's a $900,000 loan, for God's sakes. That's like my whole pipeline for the month. So the way that you go from small to big and grow and sustain during good and bad is data management. Data management. I'll be honest with you, my data management sucks. My communication sucks. Everything sucks. It could always be better. And what you guys are offering and putting on the table, I'm just telling you, man, This is why in 2 years, using what you guys are talking about, I'm going to be doing 1 to 200 million a month. And I'm growing, man. This is the biggest decade, man. Anyone who's not like pumped and like, I'm coming, man. Like this is it. This is what I've been prepared for. Declaring bankruptcy, almost declaring bankruptcy twice. It was worth it to get to this point and wait for this decade. I mean, I'm a little older for the industry, I suppose, to an extent, but man, this is it. It's on us. And the data you guys have, if loan officers are not calling you and saying, at least let's have a conversation at the very least, you're missing it, man. If you just try to do your one and done, like, I'm doing this deal, I'm so busy, I got to do this deal, like I got to close it. Tomorrow will never come. You got to do it now, man. You got to make the calls. The loan officer's watching. You got to make the calls. You've got like to the foundation, the network, the data management people. You guys are data management experts. I suck. I could sell a loan really good. I could sell a loan damn good. I mean, tomorrow I'm going to have 300 real estate agents on a call for 3 hours. I'm doing a webinar live on civil rights. It's a 3-hour lecture. I'm going to have 300 to 400 real estate agents. This will make you guys puke. But if you were to say, Khash, how are you going to follow up with those 300 to 400 real estates? I'm lecturing tomorrow for 3 hours on civil rights. It's me talking for 3 straight hours. When I talk about Martin Luther King, I've been to the mountaintop speech, April 3rd, 1968, man. That is like one of the most intense speeches I give. I read it. You know, it's not my speech, for God's sakes. But the thing is in 1 week from now, those 300 to 400 people, this will make you guys want to freaking like click me off the thing. I don't know how I'm following up with them. I can't freaking call them, man. I don't have the freaking time. But Khash, how could you stay in their face? Like, I need that app that you know, Michael, the app that Michael's talking about and the data management that Daniel's talking about. But it's like anything. I'm like, dude, I'm lecturing them out to 300 people, and then I got to do their certificates, and I got 1,000 things going on. But this is where you guys come in. So, I mean, I'm not trying to throw a plug there for you. It's not like a paid advertisement, but what you guys are offering is the platform that is going to drive people like me higher. And the people that take advantage of it, they're going to be freaking crushing it, man. The decades, they're going to be handing money out this decade, damn it. I tell people this, from 2000 to 2009, I started doing this in 1999. From 2000 to 2009, it was good for a little bit. And then hell on earth came with the crash, the breakdown, whatever. From 2010 to 2019, we were rebuilding. This is liftoff. The biggest generation in our nation, in the world, the millennials, they're at the tip of the iceberg of home buying. Every day, more millennials move into home buying, and they only get bigger over the next 10 years. So if you think it's busy now with purchases, you haven't seen, I almost swore, you haven't seen anything yet, man. I almost say, yeah. So anyways, so that's my spiel, man. I'm telling you, data management, nurture your clients, check into these databases. We will be talking again, Michael. I know Michael and I have spoken before, and I always connect you guys to Ian. Michael probably recognizes Ian a little bit, but that's my operations manager. He manages things like this to see if it fits into our model, and not everything fits. You don't buy everything. Not everything fits, and not everything fits right now. It's not always right now. Might not be the time, but you always want to keep the stuff on the radar. So I think this is gonna be the biggest decade. And I think those that capitalize on it and look to firm up their business with these technologies, I think are gonna really be the ones that are leading the charge.
Yeah, Khash, thank you so much. Great points. I think some of the fundamentals that you've talked about right there, at least that resonated with me. You mentioned data management, right? It's almost one, be careful what you wish for, right? Because you could just get a big boatload of data and not know what the hell to do with it.
Does nothing.
Right?
Yeah, that's the Facebook stuff. And Dan was talking about this. These Facebook companies are out there are like, pay us $1,000 and we'll get you 500 leads a day. I got news for you, dude. Buy the damn program for $2,000. I'll give it to you. I've got a program. I'll give it to you. Okay, you have it, and you'll generate that much, right? But what the hell are you going to do with it? You know, 500 leads a day, 100 leads a day. No human being can call and manage that properly. After 4 days, you're quitting the damn industry. You need a system to follow up and nurture and manage, and you put it in the incubator and you let it incubate. And this is what I'm talking about, man. And stuff, you guys' data stuff is not expensive, but it's got to be used. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, this is the way other industries are falling right into it, right? Knowledge is power, data is power. But what you do with that, the responsibility you have gives us that opportunity of what's in front of us, right? How do you manage, how do you analyze, how do you manage, how do you make knowledgeable, sensible decisions on the data that you can actually see what's in front of you? And then now what actions do you take from that data?
Data management, you got to make those executions exactly like you're saying, and you got to give it to the experts. I'm not an expert at data management. I don't know the first thing about it, but I consult, and I have people with me that look into it for me, and I look into it too. And it's so critical to it's how you're going to grow, man. If you're a one-person shop, it starts with you, and this is how you grow. And I'm not saying you want to hire 100 people. You don't have to. It's not about that, man. It's about managing what you've got, and organically it'll grow. I don't try to grow Liberty. I don't. We're hiring another underwriter next week. We just hired 4 loan officers last week. I'm not trying to like grow. It's organic. This is what I do. And some people come and some people tell me to piss off. I don't know.
We would never know. No one would ever tell you to piss off.
I get a lot of
A lot of people. No, that's awesome. Hash, thanks so much. I think your experience in just living through the ups and downs and just sharing with the community today, just absolutely invaluable. Is there any whiz bang gimmicky stuff in anything you said? Absolutely not. Absolutely. These are fundamentals that quite frankly, we could have said, woulda, coulda, shoulda had in place here 12, 13, 15, 20 years ago, right? But in the world that we're living today, the millennials that are here now, they're the totally data-driven culture right there. The Gen Z, that's right on the heels of them, because Gen Z right now is entering college, okay? And by the way, Gen Z is entering college, I'm speaking it personally for my kid, in an environment that's gonna incorporate online learning, technology, data flow right there. So guess what they're gonna be used to as part of their normal mode of operation, right? Data. So if we can embrace the lessons and learn that you had, Khash, and all the different facilities that Daniel and Michael yourself have brought into play right here, I think as a mortgage advisor and provider to the community, that's where we're gonna have the best opportunity. And quite frankly, as you said, we're 2020. So this is liftoff for the greatest decade that we're gonna see probably in the history of mortgages, right? Fantastic. Hey guys, I want to just cut off real quickly right here. I want to thank Khash Saghafi. I want to thank Daniel Cross. I want to thank Michael Kelleher for joining us today and sharing your insights to the community. I hope everybody in the audience today really got a lot out of it. This is the kind of format we always love enjoying. You know, I'm representing Stikkum, but today, quite frankly, we're a technology company, but today we're here that brings great people with great insights to share great content. And that's what we're all about today for you guys in the environment today. So thank you so much for joining today. Look out in the future for the opportunity for other venues just like this we're looking to bring on board right here. Connect with Daniel Cross at first.io. Connect with Michael Kelleher at Easy Mortgage Apps. Connect with Khash Saghafi and tell them to piss off. Or say, hey man, I need to see that seminar you're rolling with tomorrow, because it's
intense, man. Civil rights for 3 hours.
I only had a few minutes of you today, and I can't wait to get 3 hours of you tomorrow.
Hey, Jeff, make sure you check the chat, because there's somebody asked if they could get a copy of this or if we're recording this. So
100%. Thank you, Daniel, for that. So this is being recorded, and this will be distributed to everybody that registered and definitely everybody that attended to this. And we've been posting it to the Stikkum website as well, too, and giving it out to Khash, Daniel, and Michael as well. Thanks again, guys, for all the insight and the sharing today. Thanks, audience members, and I hope you enjoyed today's webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.